What's going on, sports card hobby family? Another day, another sports card video. Today we're talking about sports card dealers. Are they just out of touch? What is going on nationwide at sports card shows, as well as card shops and online?
This is the Rookie Rage complete set.
Before we dive in, huge thanks to today's video sponsor, Hake's Auctions. They've got their monstrous auction starting on Tuesday, the 24th. It's all the things, all the collectibles, sports cards, non-sports, comic books, action figures. It's going to be a good time, so make sure to check out Hake's Auctions. I'll have a link in the video description as well as in the pinned comments below. All right, so I've been hearing some rumblings out of the Chantilly show as well as some other shows across the country here over the last couple months. And man, it just feels like a reoccurring theme that there are some dealers that have stuff priced to sell and they're doing very well, and other dealers that just have a showcase essentially of just stuff that is never going to sell at the prices at, 150% comps, 120% comps. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like there's a huge disconnect sometimes, or maybe it's just people that don't want to take losses, or they want a little bit more profit out of a card. Whatever the case may be, stuff is not priced to sell. Now you might think, well, that's just card shows. That's just the way it goes at times. But here's the thing that I'm seeing though. What's the difference between a card show and eBay buy it nows that are at exorbitant prices? There's a lot of, I feel like, list and pray, on eBay where it's like 2,000 or best offer. I don't know, throw up a number and then the last comp's at $1,000, or they just haven't updated the listing in a year.
In this video, you will learn how not to travel.
To where it's that same listing that's sitting there at 2022, 2021 prices, and it's like, whew. That's just never going to move. We're all just waiting for that same card to come up on auction so that we can bid on it. Because the buy it now, it's just going to sit there forever. The zombie apocalypse is going to happen. There's going to just be like humans hiding in bunkers while the zombies move around. And there's still going to be these buy it nows sitting there on eBay. And probably still those same dealers at card shows. Granted, they'll get eaten by zombies. But anyway.
You take the card and put it in the sleeve.
Now, I think part of the problem here, and we'll give some dealers some credit, is especially when you look at modern cards and you're looking at serial numbered cards, there's kind of the big question of what is rare. And there's a huge battle now going on with serial numbered cards because there's been so many different variations and parallels in new product. What is actually rare? Is a case hit better than, a card that's numbered to 49? Is it? I mean, the case hit's probably not numbered. One of my favorites actually is stained glass for football cards in particular. I love the stained glass cards. They look awesome. They're fairly pricey. I know a lot of people like kabooms. They're not numbered. They're pricey. So then once you go beyond aesthetically, like, okay, aesthetically, I think it's cool. But then you look at what you can get for a numbered card for the same money. And it's like, yeah, but do I want this unnumbered kaboom? Or would I rather just have an out of 49 or an out of 10 maybe even, depending on the player, that you're looking at. And so I think what happens is you get kind of this hit, out of the break or whatever, and you're trying to price it out, and there's not many sales of it. And so I think a lot of people just throw it up on eBay, $1,000 or best offer, $2,000 or best offer, because there's not another comp. But I think that's kind of the issue right now is there's such a huge push on manufactured scarcity and a lot of sets coming out with numbered cards in it. So you're trying to differentiate, okay, do I want this set with this numbered card? Do I want this auto? What's the difference between the two? What's gonna be important about this one compared to that other one?
For $79.95, folks, it's unbelievable.
Only 10,000 boxes were produced for general distribution.
And it's a giant confusing mess at times. And I know people will say like, oh, it's easy then, just go back and collect vintage. Well, that's fine, but I mean, for vintage, for me, especially when I'm looking at football cards, there's key players that I'm looking for. Unless you're set collecting or something, there's key cards I'm looking for. Once I get that card in a mid-grade or a low grade, I'm done. I'm not necessarily looking for more of that particular card. And I don't necessarily want to try to collect every single Hall of Famer that ever existed. And modern cards do present a fun element to them. Huge monumental risk, obviously. But frankly, there's a lot of risk with vintage cards as well. There's just risk all over the place. But I just wonder, when are we going to see kind of the big supply glut come? And what I mean by that is, at some point, I feel like people are going to be pushed into just giving up and just saying, you know what, I'm just going to run this at auction. And the thing is, I don't understand why people don't just run it at an auction at 80% comp. So if you have kind of an idea in your mind of, okay, I want to get like X amount, but I'm trying to kind of squeeze out as much as I can, but you finally kind of given up. You don't have to run it at 99-cent auction and then hope and pray that it gets to, the value that you want. I mean, you could just run it at 80% or 90% of comp and just kind of keep that going. That's better than a buy it now that is just never going to go anywhere. And I have a hard time believing that there's just all these collectors out there that are like, kind of like the make me move thing for real estate. Like, here's my make me move price. That's basically what a lot of these cards are listed at. Here's my make me sell price at 5,000 or best offer. But do they really care about that card that much? There's so much of it on eBay to where you're just wondering, are these all collectors for these cards that are just like, you know what? I'm okay holding on to it and keeping it because I love this. Or maybe that price is there because, hey, they paid X amount, they paid X amount, and they want to get back a certain amount, even if it's under. Maybe it's under what they had paid. They don't want to take like a massive bath. They're trying to kind of limit the amount of loss, and I get that. But I think it also, we've talked about this, a lot of other content creators have talked about it. At some point, though, if it's not a long-time collector card or it's something that maybe you speculated on, you missed on it on that particular player, at some point you do have to, I think, kind of look at like, you know what, maybe I just need to get something out of this. This was a life lesson. It's not going to come back the way that I think it is. It might not go down further, but, I'm going to be out this money. And so getting kind of something back, just knowing that, hey, look, for any of us that bought cards in 2021, 2022, there's going to be some stuff that you're down on. It's just factual, and I love the people that want to dive in and say, I've bought everything correctly and everything I bought in 2021 is up. And, it's just like, it's just not factual. It's not. I've certainly had to do it this year, but you know what? It's been a giant weight off though. I was never buying into huge high-end cards, so I'm not taking necessarily like massive losses, but just like little dinks and dunks to where I lost 20% here, I lost 30% there. And it's like, yeah, that sucks. But at the same time, that's freeing up money to get into stuff where it's like, okay, I've learned that lesson. I'm going to be a little bit more careful this time around. And I just think there's a lot of that out there right now. There's so much supply that is just wrapped up in people just not willing to kind of go there yet. Maybe holding out hope, for maybe a little glimmer, of something. And maybe it's on speculative players like a John Moran or a Luka or, some of these newer guys, a Zion Williamson, or it's a quarterback or it's a baseball prospect, whatever it is. And they're just kind of hoping for a little bit of a charge, a little bit of a supercharge. And maybe in the next year, maybe it's kind of like, hey, the economy has been kind of garbage as far as like, look, interest rates rising. And maybe they feel like, hey, maybe I'll get some relief in 2024. And I'll be able to sell this off and get a little bit more than I can today. I don't fault people for necessarily holding cards that they really enjoy, or just holding cards that they're like, hey, look, I think that in 6 months I'll be in a better spot to sell, and so I'll keep it high for right now. I totally get that strategy. But at the same time, a lot of other cards and collectibles have come down in price, so there are some good opportunities on stuff that was way like sky high pricing that's now come back down to earth. And so if you do have kind of these dead cards that are there to where they're just not doing anything for you, and like I said, I've had to do that this year. I've had to just go through and look at my collection to say, like, what do I really care about? What do I honestly really care about? And I've had to just move off of stuff. I haven't moved off of a card though yet where it really stung. Where it was like, man, that's a card that I'm not going to see again, or I really love that card. I haven't moved off of a card yet. It was a lot of just kind of like volume for stuff that I liked, but I didn't love it. And so I think that's kind of the question we all have to ask ourselves. But anyway, are dealers out of touch? And of course, I'm not talking about all dealers. There's dealers out here that are killing it, that are doing great, that have, they acquire at a certain price, they sell at a price where it's just, they're able to move cards. A guy that I respect a lot, one of my hobby buddies, another content creator, Chris, baseball card collector, investor, dealer, is the king of this. He's able to get in on cards. He pays fairly, but he's not trying to like get lottery winnings on the resale. And he does well. He just moves stuff around and he makes his margins, but he's not trying to kill everybody on the deal, whether he's buying it or selling it. And that is why he is successful. All right, guys, that's all I've got for today. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.